There was a time when Mark Zuckerberg was just another college student, coding in his Harvard dorm room. Now he's one of the richest people on Earth with a fortune worth over $100 billion. From luxury homes to cutting-edge tech and private getaways, this is the billionaire lifestyle of the man who created Facebook and changed the internet forever. As of 2024, Mark Zuckerberg's net worth is estimated at around $110 billion, according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index. The bulk of that figure is tied to Meta platforms, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Meta's stock performance plays a big role. When it goes up, so does Zuckerberg's fortune, since he owns a significant share of the company. But even with that kind of financial power, his official salary for Meta is just $1 per year. That number isn't a mistake or some kind of symbolic gesture. Well, actually, it sort of is. It's a move we have seen before from other tech executives like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, who've also opted for minimal base pay. The idea is that their real income comes from equity and stock performance, not from a traditional paycheck. For someone like Zuckerberg, who already has access to everything he needs, the $1 salary isn't a sacrifice, it's a statement. It signals confidence in the company's future and shifts attention toward long-term growth instead of short-term pay. What's also notable is how this setup affects taxes and compensation optics. He still earns billions in gains when Meta performs well, but he doesn't appear on lists of the highest paid CEOs because his base salary is virtually nothing. So, while it might sound humble on paper, the reality is far more complex. From the numbers behind his wealth, let's look at where and how he actually lives. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't just own a few homes, he's stacking entire zip codes. In Palo Alto, he started with a single house near Facebook's headquarters, then quietly bought up the surrounding 4 properties for nearly $30 million just to keep his privacy intact. The main home itself cost around $7 million, but the real story is in what he's built around it. A kind of buffer zone that shields him from the outside world, which in Silicon Valley isn't easy to come by. Then there's Lake Tahoe. In 2018 and 2019, he picked up 2 side-by-side estates, Brushwood Estate and Carousel Estate, for a combined $59 million. These aren't just cabins by the lake, we're talking private docks, guest houses, and enough shoreline to disappear from view. Each purchase was done through LLCs to avoid attention, which didn't work for long. And in Hawaii, he's taken it up another notch. Zuckerberg now owns more than 1,500 acres of land on Kauai, including a former sugarcane plantation. He's spent over $100 million so far and drawn criticism for fencing off large sections. Local news confirmed he's building a bunker-style compound, complete with underground shelter space, a large network of tunnels, and even its own water tank system. It's private, secure, and built for the long haul. And speaking of privacy, that brings us to how he travels and who sees him doing it. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have his own jet, but Meta spends a hefty amount, over $27 million a year on his private air travel. It's not about luxury as much as it's about safety. The company considers him a high-risk individual, and that kind of security comes with a price tag. So, instead of owning a Gulfstream or a Bombardier, Zuckerberg flies charter. These aren't quick hops either. He's been tracked heading to business meetings, tech summits, and private getaways. The internet's amateur flight trackers often catch his movements, piecing together flight paths based on aircraft IDs tied to Meta. And it's not rare to see him landing in Aspen for a winter break or touching down near Sun Valley ahead of the Allen & Company conference, where other billionaires like Tim Cook and Elon Musk also make an appearance. These trips aren't spontaneous or flashy, they're planned to the hour, coordinated with full-time security, and kept mostly quiet unless someone catches the plane online. While the average tech exec might grab a first-class seat on a commercial plane, Zuckerberg moves in a space where discretion, speed, and security override status symbols. He doesn't flaunt the planes or post photos from the tarmac. The planes are functional, controlled, part of a routine that comes with being the public face of a company as massive and often controversial as Meta. When he flies high, what does a billionaire like Zuckerberg drive on the ground? Unlike other billionaires, Zuckerberg keeps it modest. He's been seen driving a Honda Fit, a Volkswagen Golf GTI, and an Acura TSX. Each cost less than $30,000. His preference for simple, fuel-efficient cars reflects a minimalist approach, at least on the surface. But when it comes to fashion and everyday style, does he keep things just as low-key? Zuckerberg has almost become synonymous with his gray t-shirts and hoodies. He said that reducing the number of decisions he makes each day frees up mental energy for more important work. That's not an original idea. Barack Obama and Steve Jobs followed the same logic. But Zuckerberg sticks to it consistently. You won't catch him wearing flashy designer labels or chasing trends. Instead, it's practical clothing that gets you the job done without any fuss. Even his wedding was no spectacle. When he married Priscilla Chan in 2012, the ceremony was held in their backyard. Fewer than 100 guests showed up, most thinking they were attending a graduation party. The ring? A ruby, not some over-the-top diamond. It wasn't about impressing anyone. That said, this doesn't mean he lives without comfort or expensive tastes. His real estate tells a different story. Several properties in California, Hawaii, and Lake Tahoe worth tens of millions combined. But when it comes to how he moves through daily life, what he wears, what he drives, Zuckerberg seems more interested in not being noticed than making a statement. Mark Zuckerberg's approach to clothes is about function, not fashion. He's often seen in the same gray t-shirt and jeans, a choice he's explained as a way to cut down on daily decisions. His thinking is simple. The fewer small choices he makes, the more energy he has for running Meta. The t-shirts, though plain, aren't random. They're reportedly made by Bruno Suncinelli, an Italian label better known for luxury cashmere than minimalist tech uniforms. Each shirt can run up to $400, which says a lot about the balance Zuckerberg strikes between comfort and quality. He's not trying to make a statement through fashion, he's trying to remove it from the equation altogether. This kind of uniform dressing isn't new. Steve Jobs did the same thing with his black Issey Miyake turtlenecks, Levi's 501s, and New Balance sneakers. The goal wasn't to stand out, it was to simplify. In that sense, Mark Zuckerberg is following a line of tech leaders who want to strip away distractions. It's not about being stylish or trendy, it's about keeping the day as frictionless as possible. And while most people might not spend hundreds on a plain shirt, the logic behind the habit is easy to understand. If one less decision in the morning helps you feel sharper during the day, it can be worth it. The point isn't the clothes, it's what not thinking about them frees you up to do. Mark Zuckerberg isn't just tinkering with code or sitting in boardrooms, he's training, timing his runs and tracking recovery like someone prepping for a competition. He's posted clips of himself sparring in MMA gyms, not as a stunt, but because it's become part of his actual routine. In 2023, he ran a 5K in 19 minutes and some change, which isn't just good for someone with a schedule, it's objectively fast. And it's not like he's winging it, he uses tools like the Aura Ring and Whoop strap, both designed to measure sleep, strain, and readiness. These aren't accessories, they're part of how he makes sure his workouts don't just happen, they actually count. There is a discipline here that mirrors how he works. He's not just chasing trends, he's sticking to what gives results. You don't post your VO2 max or share your mile splits unless you're genuinely into it. And it's not performative. When someone like Zuckerberg blocks out time for recovery, tracks heart rate variability, and trains with real fighters, it shows this isn't about image. It's about control, stamina, and mental clarity. Even in the photos where he's just hanging with his kids or paddleboarding, you can see it. This isn't a guy who's letting things slide, his fitness routine isn't on the side. It's wired into how he lives. Mark Zuckerberg isn't just betting on a product, he's betting on a new way people will live, work, and interact. Since rebranding Facebook to Meta in 2021, he's poured more than $36 billion into building what he calls the metaverse. That number isn't just eye-catching, it's the kind of financial commitment that signals a long game, not a short win. Meta's Horizon Worlds, for example, is a digital platform where users create avatars and socialize in shared spaces. The Quest headsets, especially the Meta Quest 2 and newer Quest Pro, are the physical entry point, designed to pull people into a world where meetings, games, and even workouts happen in virtual space. Some of this sounds like science fiction, but it's already being used in real spaces. Accenture, for instance, onboarded thousands of new employees using VR to simulate office life during the pandemic. Walmart's also used virtual reality to train staff in customer service and crisis scenarios, and these aren't prototypes, they're business tools in actual use. But none of it guarantees success. Horizon Worlds had a rocky start with buggy software and user numbers that didn't match the hype. Critics have called the graphics underwhelming, and even some Meta employees have quietly questioned whether regular people will ever want to spend hours in a headset. Still, Zuckerberg stays locked in. His idea isn't just to make better games or sell more devices, it's to build what he sees as the next version of the internet itself. There is something personal about that kind of vision. It's not just a business play, it reflects how tightly Zuckerberg's identity is fused with the future of tech. When Apple launched Vision Pro and entered the same space with its usual polish and ecosystem advantage, it didn't rattle him. If anything, it seemed to reinforce the stakes. Whether Meta's vision ever becomes the mainstream reality or just a side chapter in tech history, the sheer scale of investment shows how serious and how personal this bet really is. And while tech is his public world, his private family life paints a quieter picture. Zuckerberg married Priscilla Chan in 2012, the same day she graduated from medical school. It wasn't a spectacle, just a quiet backyard ceremony in Palo Alto. That pretty much sums up how they've approached most of their life together. Even though they're among the most watched couples in tech, they've mostly stayed off the radar unless there's a specific reason to step into the spotlight. They have 3 daughters now. Every once in a while, Zuckerberg shares a photo on his public page, usually something casual like reading books to his kids or taking a walk. But it's never too much. It's not the kind of staged branding you see from some public figures. He seems to keep the focus on regular, low-key parenting moments. When they do make appearances, it's usually tied to their foundation. The Chan-Zuckerberg initiative isn't just a side project, they've committed billions toward things like curing diseases and reforming education. It's a huge operation with real scientists, engineers, and educators working under its umbrella. For them, philanthropy isn't just about writing checks, it's tied to long-term plans and infrastructure. You don't see them doing press tours about it though. Most of the time, they let the work speak for itself. And they're not constantly on magazine covers or talk shows. That's not the vibe. Even when they show up at tech events, it's typically because Zuckerberg is there in his CEO role, not as part of a couple. Chan still works in medicine and education, which he's always been focused on. The two of them just don't seem interested in turning their family life into any kind of public spectacle. But being one of the richest men alive means security is always part of the lifestyle. Meta spends over $14 million a year on security for Mark Zuckerberg, making it one of the highest paid personal protection budgets in Silicon Valley. That number isn't padded with extras or inflated for optics. It covers private guards, advanced surveillance systems, travel protection, and upgrades to his multiple homes. This isn't a casual expense either. Zuckerberg has faced serious threats over the years, ranging from online harassment to organized protests outside his properties. For someone running one of the world's most influential tech companies, personal safety isn't just a preference, it's part of the job. To put it in context, Amazon reportedly spends about $1.6 million a year on Jeff Bezos' security. That's a big gap, and it shows how uniquely intense the scrutiny around Zuckerberg has become. Part of that comes with being the face of Meta, which has dealt with privacy controversies, political fallout, and global regulation debates. Another part is that Zuckerberg himself isn't just behind the scenes, he's the public face of decisions that affect billions of people, from what content shows up in your feed to how data is handled online. The budget also accounts for his family's protection, which includes security at schools, during vacations, or in even casual outings. It's less about extravagance and more about consistency, making sure there is a security protocol in place wherever they go. While the cost sounds extreme, Meta considers it necessary to protect its CEO from real and ongoing risks. Speaking of big money, Zuckerberg is also a major player in philanthropy and political causes. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't exactly write checks quietly. In 2015, he and Priscilla Chan launched the Chan-Zuckerberg Initiative, pledging to give away 99% of their Facebook shares, worth tens of billions at the time. The money flows through an LLC rather than a traditional nonprofit, which gives them more control over where and how it's used. And that decision raised eyebrows, but it also lets them fund things like scientific research, education reform, and affordable housing without being boxed in by nonprofit restrictions. They've backed projects like CZI Science, which has funneled money into tools for early disease detection and personalized medicine. On the education front, they've funded personalized learning programs and pushed for broader access to tech in public schools. But it's not just long-term bets. Zuckerberg also stepped directly into the political arena during the 2020 US election. He and Chan put more than $400 million toward election infrastructure, mostly through nonprofits like the Center for Tech and Civic Life. The funding helped with PPE, poll worker recruitment, and expanded mail-in voting during COVID. Some saw it as a public service, others called it political meddling. Several states even passed laws afterward to limit private funding of elections. Zuckerberg hasn't been shy about the fact that he's playing the long game in philanthropy, even if it means getting dragged into controversy along the way. With all that giving, how does Zuckerberg unwind and enjoy his personal interests? Mark Zuckerberg's free time looks nothing like the stereotype of a tech CEO glued to screens. He's into hunting and has posted about slaughtering animals himself to better understand where his food comes from. Not something you'd expect from a guy who built Facebook, but it lines up with his more off-grid interests. He raises cattle on his property in Kauai, grass-fed and treated with care by his account. It's part of a broader shift he's made towards self-sufficiency, at least when he's in Hawaii. People either see him as a focused builder or a tech overlord detached from normal life. There is rarely a middle ground, and in the public eye, once a first impression sticks, it's tough to shake. So, would you live like Zuckerberg if you had $1 billion? Leave your thoughts in the comments.